Hello. Okay, I'm just gonna wait 1 minute for people to settle down, and yeah. So, can you all hear me clearly? Who is here for themselves, and who is here for their company? Okay, that's good. But I hope that you're also here for yourself as well, not just we can have two two sides to the story. So my name is Patience Ogunbona. And today I'm glad that I'll be talking to you in the Corporate Wellbeing Show. And what we'll be talking about today is how to increase your personal effectiveness and courageous leadership. I'm sure some of you are wondering, why courageous leadership? Why not just leadership, right? Are you wondering that? Is anybody? No? Okay, well, um, I believe that it's all about, in this day and age, people need to be willing to do things that are hard, because leadership has become like just a stamp, really. And a lot of times things are not working as they need to. So, what we want to look at, that's why it's called personal effectiveness. But then, if you work with a team, if you work with an organization, you want to be courageous to bring people along, right? Isn't it? We all want to do that because it's lonely at the top when you get there on your own. So, you want to take others along. So, first and foremost, a lot of this talk centers on women, and I want to appreciate the men in the room because we need allyship, we need support. And my son is here supporting me because, he believes in my mission, my vision, and wants to elevate me. So, I'm glad. But one thing I want to put out there is some of the statistics around the challenges that women face around the world. So the first thing is the Global Gender Gap World Economic Forum report lists some things around gender parity and inclusion. Inclusion, diversity, equality has also become a buzzword that is losing its weight. Would you agree? And so a lot of times people don't focus on the things they need to focus on. It's a tick box exercise. I used to be an auditor and I know what tick box exercise looks like versus the real actions. So these are some of the things that you know, that key elements of this inclusion that this report talks about: economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, political empowerment. Now, these measures are based on gender parity, and gender parity demonstrates that proportionate representation of men and women in specific sectors such as economic activity, education, and health. So it's like we say it's a man's world, and people get upset, men get upset. But in reality, women across the world are still struggling to make things happen for them. And even as individuals, as women in the workplace, nobody talks about glass ceilings when it comes to men. But guess what? Women have a glass ceiling, right? So that's the challenge. But also, according to a LinkedIn sample which was done over 163 countries, 41.9% of the workforce is women mainly. And when you look at, in terms of building up your career, developing up your career, these are the statistics as well in terms of that whole picture. You have that still, there are still women not being able to ascend the ladder. There's a lot sitting at the entry level positions, more than there are stepping up on the ladder. I don't know whether those of you who are representing companies, perhaps you experience that, and maybe there are some challenges as to how you will support women. So if you then look at it, there is also a difference in industry. Lucky women who work in retail, they have it good because they can climb up the ladder much faster. But then you've got STEM still struggling. I used to work in financial services, so when I saw the statistics, I wasn't surprised. And it's one of those places as well that is very stressful. It's a stressful industry. Those industries that are on the lower end are also very stressful, very challenging industries. Would you agree? Yeah? So those are some of the percentages, those are some of the information out there that it's important for companies to recognize. It's important for yourself to recognize if you're struggling in any shape or form, you are up against some hard statistics here. So according to this and an article by Forbes, here are some of the key things that women go through. Progression of women in senior leadership roles has stalled and reversed since 2021, and it requires attention. So it's reversed back. There was progression in making things happen, but it's actually reversed, and these things are happening quietly. Then women are pushed out of corporate positions or choosing to leave due to gender-specific challenges and lack of progression. What I'm finding in my work personally, quietly there's ageism for women as well, 40s and above. But also, even women themselves check themselves out after 40. It's like, oh, the younger generation, the AI generation, I can't deal with them, I can't cope with them. The intimidation is great, and the imposter syndrome and self-doubt increases. And you find also that the younger generation is progressing very quickly on the ladder. So one of the research I did also talks about the fact that younger women are more comfortable talking about ambition than older women. For whatever reason, it's like that ship has sailed. Can I still say I'm ambitious? Can I still say I'm driven? So that's the challenge. And if you spent your life doing things for other people, it's like, am I a leader? I was supporting other people. I wasn't shining my light, you know. So, and this reversal has a negative effect, not just on corporations, but on society as a whole. And then we notice that it's currently a steady stream, but it's going to continue downwards without intervention. That's what the statistics and research shows. But the three key strategies that can be applied by most organizations, or even when you want to look at yourself and the direction of travel, leadership programs, those that are designed and tailored specifically for women, and which have an outcome where they can grow, have increased confidence, and build their capacity so that organizations are more confident to promote women, yeah, to put them in positions of authority, to manage a lot of things. We notice that there's progression in going into political spheres, and then the first thing that happens when scandals happen, men stay, women resign. Have you noticed? Women resign very quickly, but men will stay. They will argue their case and stay. Yeah? So there is that, and it's about developing. Leadership does not discriminate gender. So it's very important that women have leadership training. But where it can also be tailored so that it meets gender-specific needs is very useful. The next thing is champions and sponsors. That's something that is lacking, especially for minority groups as well. So important that they champion women's courses in terms of strengthening coaching and mentoring and other interventions. Then visibility. If nobody sees you, if nobody acknowledges what you do, can they recognize and celebrate you? Can they progress you? So how do you get women to increase that visibility in the workplace? And also that's why diversity and having a seat at the table is important, because when you have a seat at the table, somebody is seeing you, right? And then obviously the next step is to have a voice, is to make sure that you use the voice that you have. So this is a quote that one of my mentors, I am part of the Maxwell leadership team, and this is my drive, and all of us here can make a difference. Yeah? It says, I want to make a difference with people that make a difference at a time that makes a difference. So all of you here can make a difference as I'm making a difference to you. Each one, reach one. So it's not just about, if I'm not in a position of authority, I can't help. Can you be a mentor? Can you be a sponsor? So I want us to cover certain things today very quickly as time runs out. I haven't, as you can imagine, not shared about myself, so I'll do that. We will talk about how to increase effectiveness for women and the leadership program that I have developed specifically. I remember when I was developing the program for CPD accreditation, they said, why women? Don't you want it to be broader? I said, that's where my heart is. And I have been through the journey, my lived experience, and I want to continue to work to elevate women's positions. And so we'll do a deep dive, we'll look at a case study, and I'll tell you, if you stay to the end, you can scan and get access to a quiz. If you also want to have opportunity to just have a clarity coaching session, what we call a laser coaching session, that kind of like gives you a bullseye approach to whatever your challenges are, feel free to fill out your information on that list that my son is holding, because that separates everything and I can get in touch with you. So let's talk about why I'm doing this. I've already talked about the challenges, but also specifically I work with introverted women who feel hidden, who feel unseen, who also actually deliberately hide themselves, So it's one thing for people to want to progress you, it's another thing for you to be hiding, right? Who can identify? I can. I did a lot of that. So, and again, black women, I'm black. Usually in some situations, it's 3 strikes and I'm out. Introvert, woman, black. So 3 strikes and I'm out. So sometimes that's the situation. So another reason, Maya Angelou says, each time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it, she is taking a stand for all women. So that is why I'm doing this. Whether I feel chicken about it, whether I lack confidence, doing this helps other people, helps my clients, helps people around me to feel motivated and to stand up for themselves. So I love to live well. I don't like to waste my life. So anything that I can use to make a difference, that's exactly what I do. So in this instance, I am making a difference by using everything, the gaslighting, the courage, the success, to make a difference. So just some information about me. I've mentioned that I run another brand known, apart from ATI, which stands for Aspire, Transform, Inspire Coaching. I have the Visionary Introverted Woman brand, which is like my personal brand. Last week, I went to a conference in Birmingham, and I talked about how you can elevate your personal brand as an introverted leader, because branding is so important, how you show up in the world. Now, my son's standing there, and he can see some of the pictures. That, for me, is part of why I do what I do. It's part of leaving a legacy for the younger generation. And again, it's so important that you know how you show up in the world, your values, and what you stand for. What I say is that, what's your state of being? What's your state of being, or the state that you want to be in? I want to be patient. Even though my name is Patience, I'm not always patient. Yeah? I want to be patient. I want to be purposeful. I've already said I don't want to waste my life. I also want to be passionate about things. And that's how I want to exist in the world. How do you want to exist? Do you know your values? Have you checked in on them? Are you living according to them? Because when you live according to them, you find purpose and you find fulfillment. So I'm an accredited business and leadership coach, part of the John Maxwell leadership team. I'm also a business and corporate trainer, provided training in many organizations, whether it's colleges, in the financial services sector, in the public sector. I've provided training. I've spoken on various stages, one of which is Las Vegas, and it was a dream come true. Who loves Las Vegas? Yeah, the bright lights, it's beautiful. So, and then I'm a best-selling author. I love to write books. I've got some journals and my self-published book that is on my station. So I want you to also, transformation doesn't just it begins with you, whatever you want to do in life. So visit my stand and you can take some quizzes there. My website is being built and it's coming out on Friday, lots of resources. And also I have a podcast, which is the Quietly Confident Introvert podcast. And I would love you to listen, lots of lessons there. And also I have the newsletter on LinkedIn. So enough about me, but the idea behind ATI is that I aspire, transform, and inspire you to go and inspire somebody else. So I'm just sharing my story for that reason. So in terms of personal effectiveness, I developed this program, which has 5 modules, and it's what I call a 12-week success pathway. For me, in my work as a coach, if your identity is not right, everything else and the way you show up in the world is going to be messed up. Who agrees with that? Everything comes from who we are. So the first part of this program is the self-mastery module, and it's all about knowing yourself. When you know yourself, you can do what? Grow yourself, which then brings you to the next part of the module, which is moving from a goals mindset to a growth mindset. Developing the environment, whether in your workplace, that facilitates growth. If you plant an apple in the soil for corn, will it grow? No. So it's so important that you understand that. Therefore, what are the growth strategies that you can apply? Then we talk about strengths. People talk about styles, but nobody really focuses enough on strengths. And it's those strengths that make a difference to your personal effectiveness. Hence, the third model is addressing personal effectiveness from an IQ, EQ, and what I call positive intelligence, which is something I'm trained. I'm trained in EQ, emotional intelligence, as well as positive intelligence. Then we have the influence model. That's where you develop the leadership and build your leadership, because leadership is three things: influence, it's elevated thinking, and it's service excellence. Do you agree? So the influence model helps you to bring all these things to place. But once you've done all this with yourself, what's the point if you cannot lead other people, if it doesn't work for your team? The whole reason why you do all of these is to create a team of other leaders, so that you don't have to lift a finger. If everybody is leading themselves, you're just a guide, especially if you are in a team, whatever you find yourself in a company. So this is where you integrate. Now, for the program itself, you consolidate it, because they say that you cannot see the picture when you are in the frame. So many times, a lot of learning and traditional learning does not uncover the things that need to be uncovered. That extra layer of mentoring, that extra layer of coaching, and then providing sponsorship so that people can try out things, make mistakes, and get support to address it. So let's do a bit of deep dive into all of them. Is everybody doing okay? Are you finding it useful? Am I blocking some people? Okay, just making sure. So here is knowing yourself. Self-mastery is the ability to control yourself in all situations. That word "all" is so important, right? EQ, yeah? And you move forward consciously and steadily towards your goals. You know your purpose, and you have self-discipline that is needed to do things in a deliberate and focused and honorable way, right? So that's self-mastery. And having those things and those capabilities and skills are very useful. It is a journey. So in terms of self-mastery, you might have seen this diagram before. The only difference I'm going to point out to you is when you're in this discomfort zone that people call comfort zone, because if you're a human being and alive, there is a need to continue to be expansive. Living things grow. Only things that are dead stop growing. So if you are sitting here, you will have discomfort because you want to keep expanding. So the self-doubt amplifies. So you're stuck, you feel mediocre, you are full of ideas and dreams, but you are comfortable and don't want to affect the status quo. So what do? You step out, or what I call, you do this from time to time. We all do it, right? You step out and you think, "Ooh, that hurts." You get back in again. So you address the fear zone. And this program, or anything that you do with self-mastery, is to firmly be able to take the baby steps and face the fears that you have. I always say, and I said to them in the conference last time, accept any of the options on your list is, if I do this, I will die. Then do it, right? Because if you won't die, you will recover. And sometimes the recovery will lead to extra promotion, all sorts of things, right? Dying for some people is crawling under a hole and never coming back from the mistakes they have made. But you will come back if you're still alive. So, but then you step into your learning zone. This is where you are going to make sure that you make leaps forward. You are using the failures and the mistakes that you have made and the successes, settling for success. Yesterday's success is not as important as how do I continue to make progression. Yeah, and the failure is not final either. So How do you continue to use that? So you step into, but this is the space where you step into your potential, where you start to understand your strengths, where you start to harvest and use them, harnessing your strengths. Then in the growth zone, this is